Theoretical Foundation Part 3. The Socialized Psychopath. What exactly is a psychopath? What's more, a socialized psychopath? The psychopathic personality disorder is a psychological disorder which we generally only know as brutal murders and criminals. In this case, it concerns psychopathic characteristics of a personality that occurs much more often than we presume. In fact, we have no idea how many psychopathics are walking around freely because in our society they are socialized. The psychologist Kevin Dutton describes this as follows. They have an impeccable disguise. Outwardly, they are congenial, charming, charismatic. Thus, we are distracted from their true face and do not see that anomaly is hiding behind it, and we feel drawn to their hypnotic presence. This type of psychopath is represented in all professional groups, but particularly in the economic sector, in politics, and in the media. Dutton describes this as researchers have classified the characteristics of secondary psychopaths more precisely and determined 3 essential traits. Egocentric impulsiveness. Psychopaths skillfully use all manipulation possibilities of narcissism in an operational sense. They systematically place themselves in the center in relationships. They only talk about themselves, principally avoid every dialogue, only know success and not defeat, and deny every crisis. They do not tolerate any criticism, but rather only praise. They lie and systematically twist the truth in their favor. They are the greatest, the first. All others are losers, and they are to blame for their fate. Fearless dominance. Psychopaths do not know fear. They focus on success to such an extent that they completely fail to register that they could be afraid. Their fanatical striving towards gratification is so dominant that all negative emotions or senses of warning are shut down. Interestingly, psychopaths set out to achieve fame and material rewards, yet often fail in idealistic goals. In relationships with other persons, psychopaths are very charming in a strategical sense. This can change in an instant because they are absolutive and authoritarian. If the psychopath has a material objective in mind, then he cannot cease and cannot be diverted from his path. Coldheartedness. Psychopaths do not feel empathy. They are interested in neither the opinion of others, nor can they empathize empathize with the emotional state of another person. The opponent does not exist. With the help of examples, I would now like to illustrate how these three core characteristics of the secondary psychopath accurately apply to Donald Trump. Egocentric impulsiveness. Grab them by the pussy. At every opportunity, Donald Trump makes misogynistic statements and even boasts about how he can sexually harass women with impunity. The entertainment show Access Hollywood records a conversation between Donald Trump and the moderator Billy Bush. The conversation is about a married woman with whom Trump evidently wanted to have sexual relations. Trump: I did try and fuck her. She was married. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. Then all of a sudden I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful women. Just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. I just kiss. I don't even wait. When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. Anything. Fearless dominance. The savior of the world. Donald Trump's first large real estate project in Manhattan is the Commodore Hotel, once one of the most glamorous and most expensive hotels of the city. It was bankrupt in the mid-1970s. Trump wants to take it on, renovate it and reopen it. A potential business partner who doubts his plans picks Trump up in a limousine and takes him to City Hall. The mayor of New York, the chairperson of the City Planning Commission, and his father receive him there. It is Trump's first contact with politics. The mayor is the most powerful man in New York, at least officially. However, it must seem to Donald Trump as though the mayor is a man who allows himself to be used and who Trump can use. For the acquisition of the Commodore Hotel, the city grants Trump a 40-year release from property taxes. The investment is ultimately classified as an industrial project in an underdeveloped area. This is an unusual grading for the popular neighborhood around Grand Central Station, the main train station in New York City. Consequently, the city loses more than $60 million in the following 10 years. With this money, they could have renovated schools, built hospitals, and run museums. Instead, they financed Donald Trump's rise. Father and son have transferred their connections in the parties in subsidies. They have understood the best business is one in which the public domain assumes the risk and they cash in on the profits. Today, it is part of Trump's standard repertoire to berate the political class. They are failures and incompetent guys who are leading us into the abyss. He alone must save the country from such people. Coldheartedness, after him the flood. As Donald Trump builds casinos and hotels in Atlantic City, he borrows a lot of money. Moreover, he lists the casinos on the stock market with great promises of profit. Many believe him and buy shares despite warning from economic experts. The establishment had barely opened a losses at Trump's casinos accumulate and shares plummet drastically. Trump had not invested a cent of his own money, but he had insured a generous honorarium for management. The casinos were bankrupt, the shareholders lost their money, and Trump made a sizable profit for himself. Interestingly, he was never charged with white-collar crime. Quite the contrary, his popularity rose. He was the victor, and the shareholders were dumb losers who did not deserve otherwise. With this manner of business, Trump becomes a self-made millionaire and the contemporary personification of the American dream. Research studies have shown that these characteristics are epigenetically conditioned and that, in fact, both predispositions and biographical and social influences contribute to the shaping of a psychopathological character. As I have previously embedded his biography in a social, political, and economic context, new developments are now added which enable Donald Trump to realize his full potential as a socialized psychopath in an insure American society in 2015 and then actually win the presidential election.